The link. Can be back here. Okay, let me drop the link to Sam.
Yeah, I could post it too. Send it to some friends.
Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm going to drop this on Twitter as well, so everyone get notified.
Yeah. Okay. Copy. Let me see.
You know, I was typing over here. I was like, come join us and have fun. And my autocorrect just went it like, come join us and have fun. And I'm just like, okay, let's do it.
It's going to be a good time. Come hither. Live now. Oh, I'm so excited. Paige, I don't think you understand getting me to talk about art. We might be here for a long time.
It's good. Yeah, I have time today. It's a Wednesday for me. So it's like time to communicate, time to like have chats.
Oh my God, we could be here a while. I could talk forever about art. So
that is good. That is actually a good thing. So I hope everyone who joined us today have the time for this.
I know. I hope everybody gets something from this as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very sure. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's start the conversation, and we are welcoming Sam this year back with us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, Paige.
Always. Yeah, I love your energy. Thank you for spending your time, your like sharing wisdom. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're here to talk about art today, right? Yes. I'm an artist, for those of you who don't know. Sitting in my art room right now, and I guess we're just going to talk about like art and where it's going today is kind of like what I'm thinking about. Art as like illusion, all this stuff. There's so much to talk about, but like I guess maybe I should give some background where I'm coming from. So like my whole life I've loved to draw. I always loved drawing. No one ever put a paintbrush in my hand, except maybe like I think I did watercolor like one time. Watercolor is really hard, but I was a kid. And I never like really thought painting was going to be something a part of my life. It was totally, I did not think of it ever, you know, it was just like, oh, I like drawing and stuff like that. And I thought I wanted to be a fashion designer after high school. I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do, but I was like, I'm going to be able to draw people. That sounds fun. I like fashion. And then I remember in order to get into fashion school, I needed to take an art class. I hadn't taken one in high school. So my senior year, I just like showed the lady like my portfolio of work, and she was like, okay, like you can take art too. And then she had us do a few painting assignments, but like, she never really taught us how to paint. It was just like, here's the assignment, blah, blah, blah. And I still wasn't sure I had talent then either. Cause when the first, paintings, it was just like, but it was fun. I had fun. And then I remember like a year after I graduated high school, I dropped out of fashion school, of art school, like 6 months in. I was like, it ain't for me. And then that next summer, the following year, remember my sister had these paints just sitting around from a project she had done. And I was like, and then I got gifted some paint sets. And I was like, why don't I just try something? Like, it sounds fun. I'm bored. It's summer. I'm like 18, and I remember like I painted a few things and I was like, wait a second, I'm kind of good at this. Like those were the first moments where I was like, I'm kind of good at this. Like, what the hell? But this was before my spiritual awakening. So I feel like my art has definitely shifted as I've become more conscious of what I'm doing. You know, the first few times I painted, all I knew is I really liked to do it. It was really fun. And then I evolved and I had my spiritual awakening. And then I started having this burning question within me, like, what inspires me? What should I do with my art? Like, what message am I trying to put out into the world? Was where I kind of got stuck. Like, I didn't know what my niche was. I didn't know what my purpose with my art was. I just was like painting things I saw at that time. And then it wasn't until I really started cultivating my technical skills and everything that I began to have actual visions of things and was inspired by those visions to paint them. So it was like, it's a long process. I think I've been painting for 5 years now. So yeah, but I've been like an artist my whole life. You know, I always loved art. Like I was always drawn to it, but I never thought you could make a career out of it. I never thought I was talented enough to be anything with it, you know, like that's most artist journeys. I feel every artist goes through that. You know, they start out, they have fun with it, but they don't know they're talented. They don't consider themselves an artist because they don't think they're good enough. There's a lot of comparison. And then you like evolve, you know, and then you become way more conscious of your art and you get better and better and better. So, I mean, I know you're an artist too, Paige.
Yes, and I really resonate as you're telling your story. I was like, okay, I can see like I myself want the same thing, and I was just like, so maybe I should briefly talk about my story with art as well.
Yes, please.
So, yeah, when I was younger, I was also inspired to be a fashion designer. So I was just like, okay, yeah, but mostly because my mom is a seamstress, a tailor, a seamstress. So she actually made a lot of nice dresses. Like when I was younger, she made dresses for me.
You got lucky.
I was like, I want dresses. I want to make dresses for people so that make them happy too. But it's that because my family, and also the general thinking is that art doesn't make a living. So my grandma was like, don't dream about doing art or any artistic work because you are going to starve, you're not going to be able to pay for yourself. And eventually, I just kind of like, I still love art. But my school didn't provide much of an art class as well. It's more like, you can take art class, but your art class, that means that you are going to the bad class. Like there's a good class and then there's the bad class.
Oh my God.
So no choice, I have to go into science and math, and I'm like, okay. But my rebellious side was like, even though I want to go into science and art, I'm forced to. I'm going to take art for my O level. I don't care. And I didn't study for it. There's kind of like a theory a little bit, but mostly it's like painting and so on. But it's like, it's okay. I'm just going to go in and paint, and like I still got an A. I'm like, okay. Yeah, but that is more or less my academy proof of art, which doesn't give much of a starting point for me to proceed forward from there. Yeah. My dream of being the fashion designer slowly evolved into become like a graphic designer. But graphic designer too, they will always ask for certificate. They'll be like, have you studied this? Have you gone to college for this? Have you have certificate? And I was like, I don't have certificate, but I can do some pretty good things. Like I can show you my portfolio. They're like, it's okay. We don't need that. Like what? Okay. Yeah. And I actually gave up and gone to a normal route of like living and finding a normal job. But I didn't really stop drawing. One of those drawing that I like to do is what was that called again? Not pointillism, the other they're using the pen. I can't remember.
Like ink drawings, something like that.
Just using a pen and dot and line, something like that. I have been doing that for a very long time, and I love to do them for idols, and it get attention. The game actually changes for me when I met my soul connection. and
Mm.
I gave him drawing of him, and he was
Yeah.
so appreciative of it. He remembers me out of the thousand millions of fans that he has. He remembers me within a few months. Like he's just like, oh, okay, you are the artist fan of mine. Like draw me, draw me.
That's so cute.
Yeah, and I keep on drawing him, and he actually gave me a lot of encouragement to go back out on like drawing and art and so on. And
Yeah.
yeah, it actually
It's
started
almost
from
like you had almost like a mentor with that. I definitely
there.
feel like with the spiritual journey, you go through a spiritual awakening, but you also go through like an artistic awakening as well. Because like mine was like that year before, you know, I was like, I gone like 18 years of my life not knowing I could like paint like that. It's like awakening to a skill or a gift or a talent that you were unaware of. And I feel like that's the way it is with a lot of talents people have. Like until you do it, you don't even know that you have it. You don't even know how big or important it is to your life. But yeah, it's funny. The fashion design, I ended up quitting because I could not sew for shit. I couldn't pass my sewing class, and I just realized I like drawing more. Like I like drawing the things, not actually sewing or making it real in that regard. And then after college, I was like, because I switched and did another talent of mine. I like to write. So I was like, oh, I'll be an English major. That'll get me my degree. But then after college, I was like, I want to like finish and go for what I really wanted to do in college, which was art. So I took that post-bachelor's program. I've talked about it a lot, and that was 2019, the end of that year. And I quit after 3 months. Oh my God, it was like such a moment for me because everybody was like, you gotta like, when I graduated college, my mom was like, 5-year plan, where is it? Like, you have to know what you're doing with the rest of your life. Like, where's the 100K job? And I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'll just go to art school. And then when I went to art school, I thought like it would turn into a master's program, but I just really did not feel like I could do it. There were so many things wrong with being in art school for me. I felt like I was going there for, you know, I need to do something out of college. I don't know what else. This will give me time to figure it out. And as well as it'll get me out of the house. I'm living at home. I want to go experience something else away from my mother. And then I wanted to like, I think I needed like validation. I was seeking validation as an artist. Like an institution will tell me I'm an artist, but once I went there, I fell apart as an artist. I was like, do I even belong here? Why am I making art? There's so many talented people around me. Why am I here? Because I never, like, I was self-taught for like years up to this point and had no idea. I've never been around other artists before. I've never been in a place like this. So I felt like really nervous. I had like anxiety about like being around other artists, and it was really hard not to compare yourself. And when you're painting like 6 days a week, I felt so uninspired. I was like, you know, we talk about like being emotionally drained. I was artistically drained being in this institution. Like I felt I didn't even want to paint anymore. Like, and the homework assignments too, you know, like it was just too much production. And by the time I quit, like I didn't even pick up a brush for another 2 months after that. I was so drained. I was done. And it was such a moment in my life because I remember being completely lost. I was like, all my plans are done. I planned my whole life up until this point. I have no idea what's next. And then like a month later, I found the Akashic Records. I was like, oh my God, the timing of everything. I felt like completely lost at that point, had no idea what was next, but I knew something was there. I just felt super like, I was having like a dark night of the soul part 2 after my spiritual awakening. This was like the second one. I was like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? But then the Akashic Records came and I eventually got my mojo back to create again. But I feel like with institutions and art school, there's a huge wave that that I've observed with the school. And then I've observed like outside, like on social media and stuff. And I feel like art is going in a couple different directions right now. Like the school, the institution, I feel like something like that is just going to die out. It's just not sustainable the way they create art. It's very colonized, very capitalistic. That side of art is major right now in the art world. It's very elitist, and that school was elitist as well. You know, if you didn't finish, like I remember my friend Dana Wilcher, I met her there, which was amazing. Love Dana. That is where we met. And like, it was so funny. I was walking into orientation on the first day, and I usually sit in the back of the class. I like to be unnoticed. And I remember seeing an empty chair near the front, and I was like, I don't know why, I just feel really strongly I need to go sit there. So I went and sat there next to Dana, and that's how I met her. And like, we connected immediately. So I feel like that was a soul connection, definitely, that came out of that. But she dropped out before I did, a couple of weeks before. She was in her bachelor's program. She dropped out. And I remember our teacher like pulling me aside, because she knew I was friends with Dana, and being like, is Dana like, okay? Like, is her boyfriend forcing her to do this? Like, is he abusive? Like, is Dana, she's, you know, not going to go anywhere now without this degree. Like, as an artist, she's just not going to go anywhere. And I was like, what the hell? Like, that's the attitude that these institutions have, that you're not going to make it as an artist unless you get the degree, unless you follow like this traditional route of how artists become well-known artists. And I just remember thinking like how wrong she was, like, or not wrong, but misinformed, just not seeing the situation for how it is. Like, if you're talented, you're obviously going to make your art is going to reach somebody. Yeah, it's going to touch somebody. So Dana's found wild success after she dropped out. Like, she's very successful now with her art, and I couldn't be more proud of her. I'm still working it out, but that idea of producing, it was like my teachers had ideas on how you should produce art, you know, like how many times a day you should be painting. I don't paint every day, and I definitely don't paint like 8 hours a day. I try to be consistent if I'm working on a project. When you're working with oil, as you know, like it takes a few days to dry. So those are the few days I'm not painting. But it's like highly productive. And then what I've observed with like social media, this was actually after my first Akashic Records session. The first thing that ever told me they talked about my art, and the first thing they ever told me was I was an honest artist. And I was like, what is this? What is an honest artist? And they were like, it is somebody who it has integrity with their art, who creates because it's joyful, because they're creating just to create. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess that is me. Because I remember like when you associate yourself as an artist, right, and you get good at it, you'll notice people around you try to tell you what you should paint. I don't know if that was the case for you, but like tell you like how you should do things. I remember my mother was one of them. Like, she was supportive of me, but she was always asking me like, oh, you know, like if you paint this, like it'll sell, like you should paint something that will sell, or you should think about going into manufacturing different artists' artworks and all this stuff. And then, you know, and I felt like, I always remember being like, Mom, that's not why I create art. Like, this is not about the money. And it's such a contradictive thing. Like, you know, they're always talking about the poor, like artists they're always starving, the starving artists, right? But I think to the artist, yeah, obviously they want to survive and they want to be able to eat and stuff. But at the end of the day, as an artist, it is not about the money. It is about the enjoyment of painting, of making art. And so I never listened to my mom. I was highly rebellious. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm going to paint whatever weird thing I decide to paint that day. And it's not going to be something that probably most people are going to want. I don't care. But so after that session I had where they were telling me this, they were like, there's really not a lot of honest artists left. They told me, and I was like, what? I'm sitting there like, I love art. How could there be artists who don't paint the way, like, come from the same place I do?
Okay, I'm like, am I frozen? Is Sam frozen?
I see you. Do you see me? Paige? You froze.
Hi.
I'm back. You back?
Yes. Sorry. I'm not sure whether my Wi-Fi or your Wi-Fi. So it's like, okay.
It could just be the energy. Yeah, I get real fired up about this topic. So I just love the institution of art.
Yeah, continue.
Say that again.
I love continue. Thanks. Because I love what you're saying so far. I was like,
sorry, I'm talking a lot.
No, I'm just like, yes. I agree with most of what you're saying. Like, wow.
Yeah, you understand. But so when the records told me there's not a lot of honest artists left, I was kind of in shock, because, like, the art world is huge. How could there be people who aren't painting from their heart, who aren't painting because this is something that brings them joy? And then they suggested that I like teach the next generation, like children art one day. That was like one of their suggestions, but I was like, we'll see. But I noticed, like, as I like put more things on social media, as I try to put my art out there, that there is like this whole wave of artists who maybe they come from this institutionalized thing, or they notice that certain things they create get certain views, get certain, like, they receive money for it. And they end up just creating those things to be noticed, to make money. And so it's like, now I saw what they were saying, like, later on, as I've later grown to observe everything in the art world. You can always tell when somebody's just creating to create content or creating to make money, because their art feels like generalized, I guess you could say. It doesn't feel very genuine. It doesn't feel very personal. So you could always tell, I guess, as an artist, you can, at least, but it's kind of crazy to witness. There's that whole side of the movement where it's like, the age of the galleries, right? Like, you don't get in a gallery, you're not really considered, an artist that has made it, right? You're not considered successful. And I remember being in art school and thinking about it, and I was like, I don't ever want to get in a gallery because I don't need a gallery. I was so rebellious. I was like, you won't see my work in a gallery. Oh my God.
I love your Sagittarius, like, just like jump out and like, hi.
I know. I just feel strongly that, like, that side of art is dying out. Like, it's very old and traditional. And I think with social media, it's obviously opened up opportunities for different ways artists can reach that level of fame with their work or recognition or whatever it is. So it's very different now than it was when the older generation was going through it. And I don't think you have to be taken seriously as an artist if you don't have a degree. Like, I didn't finish an art degree. I don't need an art degree. I realized by the end of it, I was an artist all along. This thing I thought I needed, I didn't need. It really just, I guess I got the validation that I already knew what I needed to know before going into it. So that, it was a process. I needed it, but it taught me I was already what I thought I was. But then I think there's another movement going on within the art world. And I think it has to do with people like me, you, Dana. There's a couple other artists I'm following right now. Autumn Sky. I love her work on Instagram. Check her out. I think, like, it's spiritual art. Like, I've noticed people are painting artwork that is esoteric, that is got symbolism, omens, codes. Like, there's energy in it, and it's coming from like a channeled place. And if you think about it, this is relatively new. Like, I know there's Alex Gray. Do you know Alex Gray? Like he paints those really like really spiritually, almost abstract paintings from like since like the 60s. And they're like these people who like they're connected to like grids and source energy, but they look like they are like skeletons. He paints their skeletons and everything, and very interesting. But he is like one of the older generational artists that I've seen who paints these esoteric ideas. And if you think about it, like art before that, like art was not based in anything. You didn't see people painting spiritual, you saw people painting religious figures, right? That was the wave centuries ago, is painting religious figures, everything like that. And now in the last end of the century up to where we are now, you're seeing people tapping into something completely different, like this whole wave of art that is very spiritual and stuff like that. And it's really cool. I think it's really cool. I think I'm a part of it. And like infusing light language, that was something Dana did. She started writing light language into her paintings. And then I tried it out too. Like I wanted to set an intention to infuse my painting with this certain energy. So I put it in there. And I started to realize that as an artist, like art, it's so powerful. And being an artist is so powerful because, and this is something I learned in art school, but like, you know, we live in a world of illusion. We're in the world, but we're not of it. This is the matrix, right? We're supposed to enjoy it, but this is the matrix. And artists, they are the illusionists too. They are the commenters of this fabricated illusion we live in. Every artist is commenting on something within our reality, which is super powerful. But they're not only doing that, they're actively creating reality too. So it's a commentary, but at the same time, they have the power to create a new reality. Because like the paintings that you see, like they're not real. Like the things on it, I've tricked your brain into thinking that shape makes a person on my painting, right? That's not an actual person. That's not there, you know? So it's an illusion. I think it's really cool the way artists connect to the greater illusion. It's like they create illusions with their art, but at the same time, they are commenting on the illusion of the world. But it's cool because you get to be the creator as well. I think that's something that Erin has touched on in her series that she has been putting on YouTube, but talking about how TV is like manifesting, the things that come out of it are real. And that's because that is art. That's art right there. And any kind of art form can create reality like that. We are storytellers, myth weavers, everything she's saying. I really resonated because it's like, yeah, that's what I do. Art has the power to create reality. So I think the way art is moving is in a totally conscious direction. Like if I want to create a certain reality, I could just paint it for myself, you know? So that's really cool. And I think artists, like they like have codes and stuff for other people to remember. The world looks to artists, right? Like imagine a world without art. Without that person to kind of re-inspire you, help you remember something deep within your human psyche about the world that you may be missing. Like people are going job to job every day, you know, they're tired and the world is tired. And then art is there and you have to pause and you have to look at it and you have to think, you know? So it's just like, it's amazing. It's amazing what art does for the world and how people can see different things within this matrix that we are living in and bring it to conscious collective awareness. I think that's really cool about art.
Yeah.
But,
right.
God.
No worries. I really love your tangent. I love your rant. So please rant more. Yeah. But yes, I want to touch on is that, yes, I think you touched on part of like during part of your, you know, your rant over there, is that art is not just painting, is everything. Like like you ask me, can I imagine a world without art? I would be like, that's very dull. No, because a world without art, that means there will be no movie, no TV, no music, not just no art, there will be, probably there wouldn't even be technology, because
Yeah.
technology basically is a combination of science and art.
It's the imagination.
So
You're right.
a world without art, like, no, I don't think we can live in it. I don't think I can live in it, but if anyone can, congratulations, or maybe not.
I don't think people understand how much art actually really influences society. Like, think of like Picasso. He started that whole movement in the last century, and it was so big that in Spain, the Spanish ruler at the time, wasn't his name like I don't know if it was Ferdinand. He was a dictator, the Spanish dictator. I think the last of the monarchy, possibly. And so Picasso did a political painting. I got to see it in person, so this is why I know so much about it. But he did this political piece about what was going on in his country, and people they bombed or something, like this town within their own country, and like the resistance, I believe. And he painted it. It's called the Guernica, I think. Guernica. Can't remember, but it's huge. And it was so influential that the dictator was really noticeable of it. But and he wanted it in like a Spanish, I think, museum or something. And Picasso was like, I will not be allowing this painting to be in Spain until this ruler is gone. Like, he withheld it from being a part of Spain's legacy until that ruler got to place, like, out of there. So I thought that was like so powerful. But he influenced like so much of that last part of that century with his art, as well as like Andy Warhol in the 60s. He created like that whole pop culture movement within the 60s. So artists, they really influence like pop culture. They influence like and politics, because that's what I'm saying. Like, they are the commentaries of the reality we are living in. A lot of people look to artists to see what they cannot see. So it's really interesting, because everybody talks about, if you're an artist, like, you do see the world in such a different way. I see little things that maybe other people wouldn't notice. And it's not just color, it's not just like that, but it's like you see human interaction, a commentary of humanity. That is, you make people feel things, right? But it wasn't until after. No, go ahead.
Yeah. I was saying that's where the inspiration comes from. Like, the artists inspire people. The artists can inspire a whole movement that, everyone will voluntarily follow them. Like, if given the chance. We don't need politicians. We need artists to come up and say something, and people can jump on the bandwagon very easily.
And it's interesting because artists inspire, but that's because they are inspired by everything going on in the world. It's a mutual relationship. If it weren't for the way the world is, I guess I wouldn't have content to create. But it wasn't until later, though, in my spiritual journey, like, until I became more conscious of like what I was doing, that things started to shift. And as I was saying, I like get visions now. Like, I remember the first time I attempted a vision, like, I received a vision in 2018. I think this is the first time I ever tried to paint something from a vision. And I got this vision of this woman, this indigo woman, and she was like floating in the water, and the stars were reflected in the water. And I was like, I didn't even know where this vision came from. I don't even really remember what it meant to me, but I was like, I don't know, this is something. So I attempted to paint it, and I don't think I did very good, but
is that the one where it's like dark sky, dark background, and then there's a woman there?
It's like right next to me. It's this one, but it's different. It's really different. I want to do it again. I think I would love to try painting it again, because I definitely have more of the skill to try to make this illusion even better than it was before, because she's like laying in water, right? She's floating in water. And that's really hard to paint a reflection at night of the stars and water. And at that time in my journey, I don't think I did a good job. I'm really proud of myself for attempting it, but I definitely could do it better now than I could then. Because you gain more experience. As that's the thing. Artists, people may not think they are artists, but that's not true. It's like everybody's psychic, right? Well, everybody is an artist because everybody has that creative energy within them. That is your godly right. That is spiritual. You have a spirit, you have creation, right? So it's like, it's just a muscle, as with being psychic. It's just a muscle you tap into that you work. And if you want to get better, you just have to keep doing it over and over and over again. No matter how little talent you think you have or how much talent you do think you have, you still have to practice. Everybody does.
Totally.
And yeah, so it's like, I know there's a lot of people out there who like have a strong desire to create art, but they like, that holds them back. That idea of, oh, I'm not good, or I'm not good enough. It's like, who said there were rules to art? Who said you weren't not good enough? It's your own mind,
Yeah.
Because there are no rules, there's no rules.
I did totally. I had friends who be like, "Oh, you're so good at art." I always say that you're so good at art. I wish I'm as good as you. And I'm like, you can be. Like, all you need to do is just pick up whatever that you like to like draw or color or paint, whatever tools you like to use. Pick it up and start doing it. Like,
yeah. There's so much that you have no idea what you're like, how much you could tap into. There's so much potential, when you just decide to create without the limitations that you place on yourself. And especially when you realize that when you are creating, it's not just you, like you are inviting like a bigger essence into the space. Creation is divine. It's been talked about so many times, but it is the act of creating something from nothing. That is a divine experience. And the divine is with you when you are creating. I did not know that though, when I first started this journey. So that's okay. That's an evolving thing that you occur along the path. But that's what's waiting for everybody who ever decides to ever tap into their creative spirit. It doesn't have to be painting. It can be any form of art. Whatever it is you want to do, there is something in you that is desiring to be expressed, something godly. So I say go for it, because you could be the next person to influence the generation. You could be, you could have an impact on somebody's life with what you do. So go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like saying one thing to add that is like you mentioned that there's different art form, and even art form that you don't think is an art form. Like, you're making a dinner, that is an art. Like you're creating something like out of the ingredients, out of the raw ingredients and the taste, that is an art. The way that maybe you dress or you style your hair, that is an art, or do your makeup, that is an art. So limited by art meaning I need to have like paintbrush and paper. It doesn't have to be. Speaking is an art. Writing is an art. Like music is an art. If you like to just pick up a guitar and start strumming away, like that's how Taylor Swift got famous. Hi.
No, you're absolutely right. I actually see art as something very broad. It could be scientists, it could be philosophers, like the way your mind works to come out with that sequence of thoughts, and then you express them to the world and it makes sense. Like that's a freaking art. So I think everything could be considered an art. It's just finding what is art to you. That is like the artistic journey. What does art mean to you? And what do you want to do with it? I think it's like the hero's journey. I was talking to my friend Eddie about this recently, but the hero's journey, I feel every artist goes through too, with their talent, their skill, but it's that whole unaware of what you're doing, then you become aware, then you think you're not good enough. And then you finally reach a point where you're getting talented in your own regard. And then you start really creating from a place of consciousness, which is where I hope I'm at. I think I'm at that place with my art where consciously creating, there's things I want to like, I actually pray before I paint now. I try to invite God into the space. It's because I figured if I'm gonna be consciously creating, I might as well invite that energy into the space to create with me. Let God speak through me through this art piece. And I started to realize my art had power. I had like no idea before, but I remember like there were a few paintings and few friends had commented and they're like, wow, the energy coming off that painting. And I was like, whoa, I never thought about it like that. But you can literally infuse your painting with energy you might be unaware you're channeling, which is really interesting.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to comment on that.
I'm agreeing to that because like even if when I'm doing like digital art, I'm actually infusing the digital art with peace and love, the stuff, good energy. And when I show my friends like, I'm so happy scrolling through your website. I'm building my website. I'm so happy and so nice through. I was just like, kind of like, because I'm infusing some of the good energy inside that. I'm doing via channeling like colors, like visualizing colors to go into it, and then I play around with that color. Yeah, so
it's fun. And if you're having fun, that makes a difference with your painting too. It's super interesting because I think I've talked about this with Dana. Dana's my one of our art friends. So like we're always talking about art together. It's very interesting the kind of language and conversations you get to have with another artist, something that only artists really understand, I feel. But we were talking about, I think I was telling her I was upset one day and I had channeled, like, I was like, you know what? I know how to make this better. I'm going to alchemize these emotions in my painting. I've never really done that before. I never understood why artists paint when they're sad or angry. Like, I know that's a trope when it comes to being an artist. I never really got it because I was like, why would I want to paint when I'm upset? I want to paint when I'm like feeling good. But I decided to paint one day when I felt off because actually painting rebalanced me. So I kind of understood it. Like, I didn't want to channel that energy into the painting because I obviously don't want somebody to think, oh, this is sad looking at this painting, unless that's what I'm going for. But I realized like art, like the process of painting and creating, it is something so healing. It's so repairing on a soul level for me. It is like my anchor. Anytime I am feeling off or something like that, or I don't feel like painting, some days I don't feel like it, but I feel this strong need, this strong, like, no, you have to, like, and it's not like from anything. It's just kind of just this driving need within me to do it. But every time, like, I start out not feeling like I want to paint. And then when I do it, it's like, I feel so great. I'm having a great time. And then by the end of it, I feel like myself. So I think painting, finding something within everybody's life that is like their anchor. For me, it's art that grounds me. That is something that, like, if I don't do it, I do feel off. I don't know if you've experienced that.
Okay. As you're talking about it, it actually reminds me of how drawing, as I mentioned, I draw a lot, especially towards soul connection. I draw a lot of him to give to him. So I dedicated a big time towards drawing. And at that point, about 2015 around there, I was actually very low, like kind of like not say career-wise, but career-wise, I'm being pushed to, go to the managerial post and so on. So I feel very stressed. I feel very not me because for me personally, I don't want to take any position. I'm like, I do want to take any position, but my boss was like, you have the potential, you're young, go on and do it, and then pushing me. So I was feeling so stressed, I was feeling so down, and like constantly feeling like I need to, live up to an expectation that is not, I did not put that on me, but my boss put that on me. So I was just like, okay, I'm like constantly feeling like that stress and I don't want to go to work, that kind of feeling. And what anchors me, like art anchors me as well. Drawing anchors me, and I continue to draw.
Mhm.
And I feel like that is actually part of the trigger for me to start my awakening journey. Because
Wow.
2-3 years of like doing those art, I was like, when you're doing painting, when you're doing drawing, or that, you are silencing your mind, and that you
Oh yeah.
actually be able to hear yourself, what you're saying, and then the divine voice started to flowing in, and then you're like, oh, that makes sense. Oh yes, like all this like just coming in for you, and you'll be like, okay, yeah, I think I'm on a different journey now. Like I didn't even know what happened. That's why when
Wow.
someone asked me like, when did your awakening journey start? I'm like, I don't know. It's between 2015 and 2018, like between there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a
Absolutely. That's amazing.
mm,
But it's true. I feel like art can be an activator as well. I love that you brought that up. When you're painting, when you're creating art, you enter that space of like total silence. It's like it's very meditative. I don't think of anything when I'm painting. Like sometimes I'll sing because I like to play music. A lot of the times I might tune out the music. Like I won't even hear it when I'm painting, and it's in my ears. And I'll be
yeah,
like, wait, what song was just on? I think I wanted to listen to that. So I'll replay it because I didn't listen to it.
yeah.
But
I feel the
it's
same.
like my favorite thing in the world is being able to just like, I call it being. Like that is the moment where I'm just being myself. That's why it's so grounding and anchoring for me, because it is the one thing that just shuts me up, and like I'm just in a space where I'm just creating. It's the best. It's the best feeling. That's why I think everybody should do it, because it's like therapy. It is so healing
Yeah,
if you're
it
able
is.
to do that.
It's
That's the
therapy when you're
channeling.
it
Go
is.
ahead.
It is. Yeah, it's like the therapy as you are. Your self therapy. You don't need to pay $100 plus for a therapy to do that. You just need to pay. But of course, if someone who needs that still continue to do that and do art, I think that will helps your journey to be faster. Your journey to healing to be like quicker and more effective as well.
Yes, it's crazy. I feel like I know, like, I think creating art is considered like a privilege, but I think it's something that everybody should have access to because of the properties of healing it has, finding yourself, activating your spiritual journey. Like, that's God, that's amazing. So, I definitely think it should be more accessible, and even on other levels too. Because, like, the art that we study in art school, it's
Mhm.
white men, over the centuries and stuff like that. And it's like, that is one perspective of this matrix that we are witnessing. Um, and we see a lot of it. And so I would love to see more women of color. Like, there needs to be more voices within the art world that make it in the art world. So that is something I hope we're headed towards. Really, I hope we're headed towards more voices within our community. And when we look back in history will talk about other people besides these white men, who have largely, created the voice for art within the world in the last centuries. So it's the same way with literature. I remember being an English major, and like, those are the voices you hear too. And I mean, that's why I think art is colonized and capitalized. It's not just these institutions, but where do the institutions come from? They're set by these people who have created this standard, and this is what art is supposed to look like. But that's not. It's actually, I feel like it's largely, as we've seen, disconnecting from self. It really disconnects you from that essence within you to create, as people like associate creating now with the whole monetary view thing. It's crazy. I don't even price my art. I let my records price my art because I think I would underprice it a lot more than they price it. So I let them price it. And the way they told me they price it, they go, because I remember having a friend tell me, like, oh, here's how you should price your artwork based off this and this and this. And I was like, oh, I let my records praise my art. It doesn't, like, how do I tell somebody, yeah, this is priced by spirit. I'm going to go with it. I trust it. But they priced it based off, they told me how much I enjoy painting, like how much you enjoyed the experience of painting. That energy exchange is what you get for, like, the monetary value comes from that energy exchange of how much I enjoyed doing it, how much I just created to create and not for anything else. So that's how my art is priced.
I love that. I like that advice too. Yeah. It's okay. At least I'll be like, I admire you this, because at least you jump and take the leap and just trust their pricing, because they did try to tell me like, you should start, offering your commission and then you price it, like, price it the price that they're giving me. And I was just like, no, I don't think I'm there. Like, no.
I do charge it what they tell me, but I go through this process of like self-doubt and like, oh my God, can I feel like guilty almost. It's hard to undo that guilt when it comes to money. Especially with art, because art is usually priced pretty exorbitantly. And I'm not even an artist that's like made it in terms of the way society's considered made it. And my records are like $1,000. And I'm like, okay. But that's because I think like that moment of like making it, like I already feel, even if I never make it as an artist in terms that our society has created, I still define myself as successful because I have found something worthy for my life. Like I've found something of value that brings me value, brings me peace, brings me happiness. And I love doing it. And that's the thing. It doesn't matter. Like sometimes I'll get frustrated, but I'm like, I know I'd still do this even if I never get recognition for it. It's because it's too much fun.
I love that. I love that. Like, yeah, continue to, do your art. And I'm very, very sure that someone somewhere else, there are someone who is going to recognize that.
Yeah. The records told me that too. They were like, with your art, it's not going to be instant gratification. And I was like, I understand. They were like, you have to just keep putting it out there because there will be people who deeply resonate with it on a heart, soul level. So you just got to keep doing it. I mean, that's not right. Why the reason I create, it's not because I want recognition. That would be nice. Of course, everybody wants to be recognized for their skills and talents and to be able to live off that would be amazing. But at the end of the day, creating for me, it's because if I don't do it, I don't feel like me and I'm not being me. So being me is creating art.
Art is your expression. Like, but art should be everyone's expression. Like it is.
Yeah.
It's just the way that you express. Like it's not in words. Like a lot of people are like, oh, opening the throat chakra, you should speak more, but it is not about speaking more. It's about expressing more. Like, how do you express? You want to express by a dance? Go on and do it. Like, that is expression. Yeah, and
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's true. Art is an expression. I feel like anytime I feel lost in my life, actually very recently, I was feeling a little directionless with what to do next. And then I was like, sitting in front of this painting, and I was like, you know what? If I don't know anything about my life, the one thing I have as constant and consistent that I do know is I'm an artist. So I'm going to paint. And I feel like that is the journey I'm on right now. I think Spirit's really just been pushing me to focus on my art only lately. I've just like with my records and through other like spirits and guides, it's like just work on your art and everything else will fall into place. And I'm like, okay. And it's funny because when I don't listen and I'm sitting here like, why isn't things falling into place? Because I'm not creating.
Like, why am I not getting bookings and everything? It's like, just focus on your work. Like, you have work. Like, why are you asking for more work? And I'm just like,
I know, it's so funny. And I'm like, okay, I'll listen. So I'm gonna focus on my art. And I'm working on this piece. It's been like such a challenge for me. God. I don't know. I have this thing as an artist where I constantly push myself to do things that are really hard. I don't know why.
It is an artist thing. I feel that when I was actively drawing, I was like, I need the next most challenging picture of this person that I can draw. The most challenging thing.
It's true. It's not like I'm trying to punish myself, but I think it's because on some level, that's how you get better. That's how you grow. It's through that uncomfortability that you don't know how to do something. So you're going to try it. I'm always trying to one up myself. I'm in competition with myself all the time. I'm like, 2018 Sam, no. 2021 Sam, let me show you what I can do.
Exactly.
It's true. But yeah, so I'm working on some pieces. I've been trying to incorporate more of my spiritual beliefs into my art. That is something that's been really inspiring me lately. Which is what I'm telling you, the whole movement thing. Like, I think there's a whole movement of spiritual artists out there creating really conscious pieces. And I think that's the next wave to usher in those awakenings for the collective. It's really cool.
I love that. Yeah. I want to touch on something that you mentioned just now. Is that about art being inaccessible? Okay. But okay, one tips for anyone who wants to start. You can make art accessible.
You can.
Guess what I'm using to do my drawings and paintings? I'm using like a $1 pen, $1 pen, and a bunch of A4 paper.
Yeah. Dude, it doesn't matter what the medium is. It's really about you and how well you are as an artist. I remember like starting out in the beginning of my journey, everything was cheap. I just got the cheapest shit I could find. I did not have the money at the time to really spend a lot on art. And then as I got more into art, you know, the expensive stuff that, like the more expensive things, they're nice. They make things easier, but they're not what make me a good artist. But now I do have nicer things because I really do enjoy having nice paintbrushes because I've gone through a lot of them. I still have my older, cheaper brushes because they're perfect for like other things. Like if I want to paint trees or something and I need like a brush that's all fucked up for leaves. So it's like, there is accessibility that you just have to like be creative with finding what works for you.
Exactly.
You know?
And yeah, I think, okay, paintbrush, there is a difference between good paintbrush and bad paintbrush. But if you're saying that if you want to start with a pen, a color pencil, a crayon, you can just get anything. Like
you really can.
Yeah,
there is a difference with paintbrushes, but you can start with cheap brushes. The only difference is it might take you longer to get what you're trying to achieve, or it might just be harder to work with, but like you can still do it. So as long as you're able to create, find your method.
And I do highly believe that if you can work with these cheap items and master it, it's probably you can master anything. So when you upgrade your brushes, you upgrade your things, you're just like, oh, this is just prettier, like amazing.
Yeah, exactly. You can do anything if you can work with some really hard things. It creates strength. That's kind of like with the spiritual journey too. Like you go through difficult things because it makes you stronger. And if you can do those things, obviously you can handle whatever's to come. So dang, I see the artist journey is the spiritual journey. I remember feeling when I was trying to find my purpose with art, I felt like kind of lost. I kept trying to like, how do I bring my healing and my spiritual stuff? I was like, this is one thing. And then this is the other, this is art. How do I make them one? That has been something on my mind, I guess, a couple years ago. And then I realized I had a moment where I was like, no, art, it is spiritual. It is the spirit act of spiritual, right? Spiritual, but I mean, anything that invokes your spirit. It is. So, and I think my friend Dana actually helped me realize that too. She was like, she's always advocating for me to work more on my art because she knows I do. I was like focusing heavily on my spiritual business and being an energy worker and getting myself right. And she's like, she's like, don't forget about your art, Sam. And I'm like, yeah, sure. But she was right.
Careful. So, yeah, and I think you combine both very well. Like especially from you combine both very well. Your art spoke of spirituality, spoke of your take on spirituality. Yeah, and I really love that.
Thanks. That it is my lens, I guess you could say, of this matrix that we're living in. And I hope that it brings somebody a different perspective. But yeah, so right now I'm challenging myself with this painting. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm like looking at, I'm seeing some trees.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. I actually had this vision back in January. I think I was meditating. I was sitting on my couch and a jaguar popped up in my living room. And I was like, oh, hello. Who are you? You know, like, what are you doing here? Is this real? And then it like took me into like a forest. I was in a jungle and I was not myself anymore, but somebody else. And so I'm in this jungle and I come upon this clearing and there's this woman in front of me who I knew immediately was this woman called Alma. She is a Toltec deity, Chamama. She's the mother of Quetzalcoatl. And I knew about her for a long time because I had a past life there that the records told me about. And I was a part of her, like she had adopted a bunch of children. She took care of like a whole group of children. And so Alma, this was my first vision I had of Alma. I know other people who have had their own visions. I guess I never like thought I would get one, but I got one and I was like standing and she was there. The jaguar led me to her and there was these 3 bowls on this table and they had different colored powders in them. And there was like red, green, and yellow, I believe. And she was like, pick one. And I was like, all of them? And she put them on my face and then she did something and it blew me back and I fell on the ground and I'm looking up and there's this like eagle, this golden eagle, and it's looking at me and it's kind of like telling me like, remember, remember, remember. And then I think that was the first time I had that experience of split consciousness, shape-shifting. Where you split your consciousness with another being and you become that being. So then I was the ego looking down on myself. And it was a very powerful, like visual journey I had. I saw some other things, but this part of the journey was really powerful. And by the end of it, I started channeling like words, like I was really deep in this. And then I remember thinking, like having a thought, I was like, I should probably write this down or I'm going to forget all of this. So I pick up my phone and as soon as I typed a few of the lines down that I could remember, I lost it. I lost the wave I was on, of course. So, but I later, I try to fill in like a bit of the portion of this poem that I was creating through this channeling. And this is what I'm trying to create right now. So it's like 6 months later, but I'm like, I really want to paint this visual experience I had that was really profound, reconnecting with that lifetime and Alma, who is like this motherly figure, and then remembering. So that's what I'm painting. And I thought, how can I capture this whole visual experience into one piece? And I was like, there's absolutely no way unless I did it in a circle.
Oh.
So I've never wrapped canvas myself before, and you can't get a circular round canvas this size. So I had to do it myself. And then I was like, I want the whole scene to be in it. So I decided to create a fisheye perspective so that we could capture the sky and the ground and see everything. And then I'm adding something at the end. It's going to be psychedelic. I'm not only doing this weird perspective. I was like, you know what? I should make the edges like really trippy. Like once this is all said and done, I want to make devils of things. I want it to be colorful. I want it to be psychedelic because it was a visual experience. So I'm adding on a lot, but this is only the beginning. This is very unfinished, but I think it's going to be interesting. It's really challenging because drawing the fisheye perspective, I have never done that before. And it took me a week to draw it all out. I redrew everything like 4 times at least. It was challenging, but that's the thing. I feel like as artists, like the way I view my art, or like the way I process through a painting, it's like a bunch of like challenges and then solutions. Like I'm like constantly working them out in my artist brain. Like, how do I solve this? How do I achieve this effect? Blah, blah, blah. I feel like there's also like those like physically mental blockages artists go through too. Like a creative block. We've talked about that. Or that's a well-known thing. But like, I felt like at different points, I was kind of creatively blocked with this because I think it felt so daunting at different times to take on such a large task that I was like, do I really want to do this?
I feel you.
But I've been pushing myself. I'm like, no, we're going all the way through. It's very rare that I don't go through with something when it comes to art. So if I set out to do it, it's getting finished.
Go, man. I'm cheering you on. I don't have a pom-pom, but visualize that there is one.
I appreciate you, Paige. Thank you.
I really feel that. I appreciate what you're saying. Just want to add into that is that, like at times when I was like doing my drawing and I literally taking my pen and looking at I have a reference picture usually.
Yeah,
I was just
me too.
I'm just like, wait, how do I do this? I'm like, okay, I don't know whether I can do this, but let's go with it. Like that, the moment that you let's go with it and you start doing, sometimes you feel like your hands, your body know what to do.
Yes. So surrendering.
What needs to be done is that just start doing.
Like you just got to do it. You just got to keep going. For any artists out there, like if you ever feel stuck, you just have to keep going. It gets better. I feel definitely I relate to that. I've done this so many times and I feel it's the one talent or gift that I'm really confident in. But every time I go to start a painting, I'm extremely nervous. It's nerve-wracking. It doesn't matter how many times. I'm just like, can I really do this? And then I feel like once I start painting, it's almost like reproving to myself that, yeah, you can do this. And then by the end of it, I'm just like, wow, how did I do that? Every time. And I'm always in shock. I remember painting my couple paintings ago. I was painting, what did I call her? The Changing Woman. That was the Apache Native woman I painted. And I remember finishing a session. I hadn't completed the painting, but I had finished painting for that layer that day. And I sat back and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just painted that. And I actually started crying. I was like, I'd never really experienced it that deeply before, but I was like, wow, I can't believe I just did that. It's so powerful just having those moments as a creator. And that piece was really powerful for me. Like I was hyperventilating at different points. I was like, what energy is coming through? This is too much. I love it though. I love the whole process. I feel like I love finishing a piece, but then once I finish, I kind of get sad because it's over. And then I have to do it all over again. Right?
Yeah.
But,
I feel that's so much. Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. It's like, oh, dang.
Like when you're in the process, it's like, I can't wait to finish it. And the moment that you do the last stroke, oh, okay, what's next? I don't know. I feel empty now.
I know. It's so funny. I'm like, I just want to finish this. And then, like you said, it's like, damn, it's finished. It's so funny. But the great thing is you get to do it all over again. Which reminds me, I think it's very reflective of the process of life and like what we're here to do on earth. I know, like, in Conversations with God, it talks about how, you start at level 1 and then you just go through and you evolve through all these dimensions. And then you finally reach like ascension or whatever, this ascended master state. And then you get to do it all over again. And that's the whole point. God says, like, you get to do this all over again. And so the creation process is heavily a mirror for what we have chosen to do here on earth. Just the constant death and rebirth of life, which is so cool.
I love that.
Every part of I swear to God, it's creation. It's the macrocosm and the microcosm. What were you saying?
I was saying spirit is creation. I mean, look around you. Spirits create everything around us. Everything. So we are part of spirits, and that's why we create as well.
Yeah. And so, yeah, if anybody out there, like, don't forget, like, you are an artist. I don't care if you've never heard it from anybody or if that's the only thing you've ever told you. Like, if you've only been the only person to tell yourself that, I'm here to tell you, you are. Like, you are an artist. Go do it. Stop waiting. Stop letting the self-doubt stop you. Who cares what people think? But also listen to your rhythms, your natural rhythms, because that was something art school, like, don't push yourself so hard that you burn out. Yeah. That is what the creative block is. It's burnout. You have to actively cultivate. Yeah.
I think self-care is important.
Self-care is important. Yeah. You have to actively care for your creative energy. It is your most precious thing. I'll tell you what, that creative energy, that sacral energy, you have to protect it. You have to cultivate it. You can't let anything project onto it. It's crazy. But I actually, in April, I went through like all of April, I was super slept. I don't know why. I was so tired that whole month. I didn't really paint much. And I was like, I tried to paint. I tried to get creative and I was like, this isn't working out. So I like took a break and I didn't start painting until the end of the month. But it was so needed. I intuitively recognized I'm going through a period of recharging all my creative energy. I've been using it crazily in the last few months, and this is my break. So it's always listen. It's not necessarily a block when you feel stuck. It just means that you need to take a rest,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the same as, like for me, I'm just thinking about, as you mentioned, about blocks. For me, I always have the biggest one that I have is writer's block. So apart from, doubts on, grammar, I don't use it very well and so on, but I do creative writing, like fictions or something, but usually I do it with a friend who is like, we are continuing each other's story and so on. So sometimes I have a burst of, creative writing energy, and then I just like, don't have anything. The funny thing is that my recharging period seems to be always around November period, and I'm like, I want to go into NaNoWriMo, but I never can get into it because I'm always recharging.
It's so funny. Yeah, everybody's got a recharging period. And I think the process of creation, it's a whole thing, and you need that break, you need that rest, so you can start it all over again, right? God, I love being an artist. Everything with it.
I love seeing how proud you are, like as an artist. Like you're the kind of person who's like, I'm an artist, a big one. I love that. Like,
thank you. Thank you so much, Paige. Yeah, I mean, I hope everybody finds that thing that they're really proud of, that they feel really inspired by. This just happens to be my thing. I love doing all of the energy work too, but when I come down to it, like that, this is at the core of my being. But yeah, as an artist, you just have to find your process, listen to the natural rhythms. I've noticed lately that I work better at night than I've never been a morning painter. I can't do it. In art school, it was like groggy trying to get through it. My mental energy is at an all-time low in the morning, so I can't do it. But I've been painting this last week, like till 11, 12 at night, and that works for me. So you just got to find the time when it aligns. That it's all about that, waiting for the moment of alignment for you and your energy. The record's always like, work smarter, not harder. And this is what it is. It's finding that moment to align with the energy.
Love that. I love that. And yeah, to every artist out there, please just be proud and loud about you are an artist. Like there is no shame about admitting yourself an artist, even though you feel like your art is not on par, you know, or the things that you created is not on par to what the society think is good. I mean, it's in the eye of the beholder, like, you know, like
it is. If those people, they don't align with you then. And think about like, once you remove those limitations or like, you're not proud, like everything, like your potential, the way you create, it just freaking goes off. So we are usually our own worst critics and our own biggest blockages. And if we could just move through that, then you can create at a level that you're meant to, you know, that's on par with what you're looking for as an artist. So yeah, I hope every artist just remembers that they are meant to do it. It doesn't matter if other people don't like it or don't think it looks good. If it means something to you, that's all that matters. I don't care if people don't like my art. I think I had one experience, like, I don't know why this just came up, but a long time ago, I think a year or two after I started this journey, I remember painting this painting and I saw somebody post it on social media, like making fun of it. And I was like, what? I didn't really care because I didn't feel bothered. That I knew it was good. I thought my painting was good. So I was like, I just had this feeling like it was coming from a place of jealousy, insecurity. I always say that, or I don't always say, but I have thought that usually the people who critique art are those who don't create, and they're just upset because they haven't allowed themselves to. Accidentally throw shade.
Nice job. Yeah, I really like that. I really love your art, Sam. Please continue to create them, and I look forward to see your new creation. Yes. And I'm actually looking forward to get prints, but not here because I'm still rental house. So I'm waiting for, like, you know, once I get my house, like showing the manifestation thing out there. Like once I get my house, you know, I'm getting Sam's painting and like putting them, and a few other artists like putting them on my wall.
Paige, you're so nice. Thank you so much. And please, you keep creating too. I want to see your art more. You need to post it more. I want to see it.
Currently, I don't have art to post because after I stopped you know, chasing after my soul connection, I literally take a break up to now. Yeah. Because, now painting reminds me of him, so I'm just like,
oh, so you kind of got to sever that. You got to sever the association. That means you got to take the power back and make it yours again.
Yeah, but he did give me a lot of encouragement, so I do be grateful for him and appreciate of him. But yeah, like I need to come back, you know, and find something else to paint.
Yeah, and sometimes the break is so needed because as artists, like, you need to cultivate those experiences to be inspired by. You know, you have to go through life a little bit in order to create something. So definitely take the time, find those experiences that you're going to be inspired by to create and to art. Thanks for having me, Paige.
Of course. And Sam, would you like to share with us, like, where do you post your art usually? That way I can find you on, like, and your art if they're interested in purchasing one, in getting a print, you know?
Yeah. My website is samtheseer.com. My Twitter and Instagram are SamVasir7. And then I think TikTok, it's just Sam Vasir. But I try to keep it like the same across the board, so it's easy to find me. So yeah, I post on Instagram and TikTok a lot of my videos of painting, but that's where you can find me.
Looking forward to see your new creation for real. And yeah, I think I should let you go for the night. Like, time for your
That's
creation.
not long enough.
Yeah, feel free to hit me up if you need any like listening ear to your art and your painting journey. I'm always like happy to hear another artist's story. It's so inspiring.
Yes, it is. And I'm grateful I got to talk to another artist too. Because you understand.
Yeah. Thank you, Sam. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with us. I appreciate you.
I'll see you.
Talk to you. Everyone soon. See you.
Bye, everyone.